Let's talk about Elvis. Directed by Baz Luhrmann and also written by Baz Luhrmann alongside Sam Brommel and Craig Pierce. Sam Brommel wrote a few episodes of the Netflix TV show The Get Down, and Craig Pierce co-wrote The Great Gatsby, Romeo and Juliet, and Moulin Rouge. So I'm guessing that's Baz's writing partner. The cast. Oh boy. Austin Butler is Elvis Presley. I haven't seen The Whale with Brendan Fraser. I know that I follow a lot of people that are really hoping that Brendan Fraser wins Best Actor. I know that he won, I guess he won at the Golden Globes, I think. And that was much to Austin Butler's chagrin. Having not seen The Whale and having seen Elvis now, I guess I have to see The Whale because just from watching Elvis, Austin Butler should win. Hands down. He just friggin' crushed it. So good. We've seen over the years, not so much recently, but I know like the 80s, 90s, there was always like Elvis impersonators. I mean, to this day, there's probably Elvis impersonators who do impressions, and you're just like, yeah, that's a nice like cartoony like rendition of the King. But Austin Butler just nails it. And from what I've read and seen, like he's done extensive research, into this, and he didn't want to come across as an impersonator or impressionist. He wanted to truly embody Elvis, and I feel like he really did. Tom Hanks is Colonel Tom Parker. People are not so high on Tom Hanks. I think I saw in my research that he was nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award, or like what they call it, a Razzie, which is like awards for the worst performances, and he was like worst supporting actor. I don't know about that. I mean, they kind of, I mean, he has a fat suit. There was like, he had to go through like 5 hours of makeup to get into character. They made him look like the Penguin. And he had a Dutch accent throughout most of the movie, even though in real life, Colonel Tom Parker had a Southern accent. So I don't know if that was Tom's choice, if that was Baz's choice. I think maybe they wanted to remind you throughout the movie, keep reminding you throughout the movie, that he's not who he says he is, and he comes from these mysterious origins, and he's Dutch. Essentially, he's Dutch. I would have done it differently probably, and I would have had him just have the Southern accent that's, I guess, the twist at the end for the people who are not too familiar with it. Why not just have him do the Southern accent that he actually had in real life, and then right near the end, near the culmination, that can be your nice little twist, is like he slips into a Dutch accent, or someone actually comes out and accuses him of being Dutch or whatever, and then that's the fallout from that, which I guess that didn't even happen until after Elvis died. So that was kind of not true to life event in the film. Olivia DeJonge as Priscilla Presley, which I cannot get over the fact that Elvis met this chick when he was like 24 and she was 14. Like, I remember when I was in college, I was in college. My sister was like 12 to 14 in that range, and was getting calls from like a guy in his 20s. It's like, I was like losing it. I was like, all right, so now I got to like learn how to fight, and I got to take this guy down. And it's like, well, that kind of shit happened all the time back in the day. Like, apparently my grandfather was 20 writing letters to my 15-year-old grandmother when he was off at war. She was 15. I guess maybe he didn't know at the time, but it just like, and even Elvis's mother and father, like his mother was older than his father by like 4 years, and needed his parents like sign off to get married because he was like 17 and she was 21. Like, it was just, people couldn't even wait to graduate friggin' high school if they even went to high school to get married back then. And I waited until 35 and still got divorced. So, what do you know? Good things don't come to those who wait. Alrighty. Helen Thompson as Gladys Presley, the alcoholic mother. Richard Roxburgh as Vernon Presley, Jesus Christ, dude. I know I'm not exactly like Mr. Spine, This dude is spineless, like just a coward. So many scenes where you're just like, dude, it's your son. Do something, please, for the love of God. The fact that I mean, I didn't, you never, I mean, as a kid growing up, like I was born 3 years after Elvis died. So like, I just know Elvis. I didn't know much about his family, his upbringing, even really Priscilla Presley until like Naked Gun came out, and I was like, oh wow, she has the same last name as Elvis. I wonder if there's any relation there. So yeah, to see his mother and father, it's like, oh well, that makes a lot of sense for what's going on with y'all in that dynamic. But Jesus Christ, so many situations where, you know, you see in the beginning of the movie, Elvis is like standing up for his dad and is like, you know, he doesn't belong in jail and he just got a bad rap and he's a good guy and all this stuff. But he, for most of the movie or all the movie, you don't really see Vernon be a dad at all. He's there in body and spirit, I guess, but like he's just not being a dad. And the mother's just blotto all the time, which is like interesting approach to mothering. And then there's you know, there's a bunch of musicians that you see played by actors, Little Richard, B.B. King, and whatnot. Cissy Houston of the Sweet Inspirations, who is Whitney Houston's mother. Whoa. Talk about little Kevin Bacon, 6 Degrees of Separation. Yeah, so I'm not going to go through the whole cast, but I thought those bared mentioning. So the movie is narrated by Colonel Tom Parker. You know, Tom Hanks is Tom Parker, and it's such a weird, interesting choice because it's like he's there. It's in 1997 when you know, he's on his deathbed and he suffered a stroke and he has a gambling addiction, and he begins to recount how he met Elvis and then their ensuing relationship over the next 20 plus years. Interesting choice is all I gotta say, because it initially comes across as like I've been painted as the villain. People think I'm responsible for Elvis's death, and this is why. Let me tell you the real story, and here's the truth, and like blah blah. And it's I mean, it's the kind of the, what do they call it? The untrustworthy narrator? No, it's not what they call it. Typically narrators, right? You have a narrator and it's like, okay, that's the guiding principle. It's the guiding voice. This is the, like, he's narrating the story. So you inherently trust or believe the narrator. And so I feel like that's what Baz and crew were trying to, they would fuck with you. Cause it's like, it's basically like Parker defending himself, like he's on trial at the gates. He's being judged, right? It's Judgment Day. He's at the gates, pearly gates, and he's being judged, and he's like defending all his actions. But you see them unfold, and you're like, wow, Parker was a real son of a gun. So, you know, he talks about how he's the snowman. Tom Parker, he's the snowman, and that he does snow jobs where it's like you get people to smile and laugh, and they don't realize that you're taking their money or something like that. So initially Parker's representing this guy, Hank Snow, who's like this very like boring, monotonous, like mundane ho-hum type country singer that's very like blah. And then one of the guys in the crew says like, hey, listen to this record. It's from this kid that everyone's like in love with. He's not very well known, but he's blowing up. Check it out. And so they listen and they're like, okay, whoa, he's got like a good voice. So they bring him on tour, and he ends up becoming the main attraction because he's freaking Elvis and he's awesome. But it is interesting to see like how different times were for the most part in 1955. Like this guy just simply like swinging and swiveling his hips and gyrating on stage sent women into a friggin' fit. to the point where he's getting like banned from shows, and like parents won't allow their kids to, like, I asked my mom was born in 48. So she was, 6 or 7 when Elvis started to hit the mainstream, and, was 29. Yeah, 29 when he passed. So she's the better part of her early adulthood, adolescence, the most formative years of her life were dominated by Elvis. And I asked her, I was just like, so what's going on there? You were alive, I wasn't. What was it like? What was your personal experience? You like him? You hate him? What's the deal? And she just said, yeah, I was a closet Elvis Presley fan, because if my parents found out, they would, punish me or whatever. They did not like what he did and what he was stood for and blah, blah, blah. And so, but I still appreciated his music and I loved his music, but I wasn't physically attracted to him because he was a greaser. Like, all right. Sounds like you're in a bit of denial, Mom. I mean, like, every woman on the face of the planet, according to this movie, was just like head over heels for this dude. So, but all right, I guess I'll go along with that. And then, yeah, she was like, she was just sad that like she never, when she was an adult and didn't have to worry about her parents, like he never really came to this area, to like the East Coast, New Jersey area. That he ended up having that long ass residency in Vegas that was like 7 years long. So they they definitely played with the truth throughout the movie. Like, Parker enlisting him in the army to get away from the controversy, like that was not part of it. And stuff like that. So feeling that Presley's music will corrupt white children and stoke racial hostility, the segregationist Southern Democrat Mississippi Senator James Eastland calls Parker to an informal hearing during which he questions Parker about his mysterious past. He faces legal trouble. Parker persuades the government to draft Presley in the U.S. Army during his military service. His mom dies, finds solace with Priscilla Bouillot, and resumes his film career and marries Priscilla. You can see he's deeply impacted by, they briefly showed the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy. And he ends up doing this, the Christmas special of 68, I think it is, which it is interesting that like, that's his comeback special. Like I just basically generally assumed, like, it's crazy to think that Elvis would think he wasn't relative for a long period of time. Like in 68, that's a comeback special. Like he was in the war and then he just kept making movies, and now we're doing a comeback special. And then he ends up turning it up a notch with these jumpsuits and whatnot, the big collars, and going to Vegas. Like, Parker believes Presley has been brainwashed by hippies. But the comeback special, which Parker pushed on because it was sponsored and it was going to air on the TV, he wanted him to wear a Christmas sweater and sing all these Christmas songs. And Elvis was like, nah, dude, this is what's going to happen. Because he started to work with some new producers, Binder and Finkel or something like that, and wore some pretty slick outfits. And apparently it was like, I don't have the numbers on this, but millions and millions and millions of people watched. I don't want to say it was like Super Bowl level, but it was almost Super Bowl level in terms of the amount of people watched. Now, honestly, there was like 3 channels back then, so it's like, okay, whatever. But I'm actually like interested in seeing it from start to finish to see like what the hell's going on there. Yeah, so I mean, Parker controlled him. Presley wanted to tour internationally, and Parker's like, no, dude, it's too dangerous. You're not gonna be secure. You're not gonna be safe. And so he signs like this mega deal contract with the International Hotel or something like that for a 7-year contract to be a resident there. And that's when things went south. He ends up, Elvis and Priscilla have Lisa Marie, and then they get divorced on Elvis's 30th birthday because of his problematic behavior and prescription drug addiction, which is administered by a doctor named Dr. Nick, which I could not get over while watching this movie. All I could think of was, is the doctor in The Simpsons named Dr. Nick? Hey, everybody. Yeah. Dr. Nicholas Riviera, referred to as simply Dr. Nick. I really do wonder if that is based on Dr. Nick of Elvis lore, quack physician. I mean, just every time he said, get Dr. Nick, it was like, okay. I imagine like the Dr. Nick from The Simpsons coming in like, hi, everybody. Oh, boy. So, the whole reason that Parker doesn't want Presley to go on tour internationally is because Parker can't go travel internationally. He's a stateless illegal immigrant named Andreas Dries van Kujic. And so Elvis fires him in September of 73. And then they argued over what was Presley's $8 million debt to Tom Parker that has been accumulated over the years. What a savage, sinister move by Parker. Just like, I'm just going to keep nickel and dime this dude and keep tabs over all the years. And then he's going to end up owing me that debt. But Parker continues on as Presley's manager. And Presley's residency at Vegas pretty much kills him because he has exhaustion and he's just running on fumes and prescription drugs. I forget what they called the drug. What was the drug that they gave him? He initially got the drug from one of his bandmates on tour before Vegas, like a pill or something like that. Amphetamines, maybe? Meth? Amphetamines? Yeah, I mean, the scene that got to me the most was when he's in the limo and he hands over Lisa Marie to Priscilla. Lisa Marie goes into the other car. Priscilla sits in the limo with Elvis. And that just hit really close to home. I mean, I know you're saying, Neal, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Are you comparing yourself to the king of rock and roll? It's like, no, dude, it's just, I relate. But it was also kind of gut wrenching that it's like, look at what Elvis had to do for his wife to divorce him. He had to do all the other women and all the drugs, and she still loved him. It's a tough pill that's a tough pill to swallow. Because I didn't do any of those things. And I'm divorced. Yikes. All right. You do, like, it is entertaining watching Elvis on stage in Vegas with the jumpsuit and everything. But man, he gives it all and then some. And you do kind of worry for him a little bit. You're like, holy shit. Like, there's just no, it's just that fifth gear, huh? You're just like, there's no kind of, all right, cool. Also, I mean, like, him just mouth kissing every single female fan was outrageous. It was just like, and right in Priscilla's face. It's like, and you could see that definitely affected her, but it was just like, yo, wow, you're just gonna full on mouth like each and every one of those girls, huh? Cool. But I did like how they showed Austin Butler as Presley, like the heavier, obese, pale Elvis singing Unchained Melody. And then they end up showing like the actual footage of Elvis singing that song. And you're like, oh, wow. Yeah. Austin Butler, your award awaits, sir. Died on August 16th, 1977. Best-selling solo artist in history? How about some trivia? The second highest grossing musical biopic after Bohemian Rhapsody. It's Baz Luhrmann's highest grossing film, his first feature film since The Great Gatsby, which I remember watching that on a bus ride coming back from an all-you-can-drink event at a winery and being like, whoa. Just like the glitz and the glamour. So I know some people have their issues with Baz Luhrmann, but to be honest, like, I don't know that you could have picked a better director. It just feels like he has that glitz and that glam, that style and that substance that is pretty synonymous or aligns well with Elvis. I don't know. It feels like you couldn't have picked a better director, in my opinion. Austin Butler did all his own singing and dancing as young Elvis. And then from the 68 special onwards, his voice was blended with Elvis's original performances. Okay. Butler said that one of the aspects about Elvis that stood out to him was that Elvis lost his mother at a young age, and Butler had also lost his mother at a young age. Both men were 23 when their mothers passed away. I guess it helps that Austin and Elvis are actually 16th cousins twice removed. Oh boy. I wonder who my 16th cousin twice removed is. It's probably someone with some really unfortunate luck. Elvis's father, Vernon Presley, and Austin's mother, Lori, share a common ancestry. Elvis was a natural blonde, and so is Austin Butler. But yet, for most of their prolific careers, or for Elvis's career, he dyed his hair dark brown or jet black, and so Butler had to do the same. Denzel Washington called Baz Luhrmann personally to recommend Austin Butler. That's not a bad rec right there. Not bad. There's like a bunch more here that I don't feel like we need to really get into. Dr. Nick was based on Elvis Presley's main physician, George C. Nichopoulos, who was accused but then exonerated of criminal liability for Presley's death. Despite winning in the courts, he prescribed Elvis over 10,000 doses of sedatives, amphetamines, and narcotics in the last 8 months of his life. Oh my God, dude. There's a whole bunch of great trivia here, but I won't get into it. I will say this is the one trivia that stuck out to me, and that really was like sent shivers up my spine. The carnival scene where Colonel Parker reaches out to young Elvis. There's a carnival banner in the background featuring the Geek. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Nightmare Alley, but the geeks in carny culture were usually men who were often alcoholics or drug addicts that were kept in dreadful conditions and used by circus masters to entertain audiences by chasing chickens and then biting the chicken's head off. Essentially, Parker, the carny, the snowman, recruits Elvis to be the geek. Oof. And if you haven't seen Nightmare Alley, I mean, I guess I could recommend it, but you're gonna feel a certain way after it's over, and I don't know if it's gonna be good. I don't think you're gonna feel great. Like it might take you a few minutes to recoup after that. I guess there's this fun fact. RCA purchased Elvis Presley's contract from Sam Phillips and Sun Studio for $35,000, which at the time made it the largest amount ever paid by a record label for a contract. In modern money, it would be just short of $400,000. That money, though, allowed Sun Studios to stay in business for years and help launch stars like Johnny Cash, Roy Orbison, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, and others. And then Phillips became a principal investor in the Holiday Inn chain of hotels. Interesting. I actually have a shirt, Sun Studios shirt, even though I don't know dick about it. Cool. Oh, and so the Whitney Houston connection. Sissy Houston was in the Sweet Inspirations group, which collaborated with Elvis. Sissy's the mother of Whitney. Of course, we know Whitney Houston, her biggest hit was I Will Always Love You. It was written and initially sung by Dolly Parton. Elvis wanted to record the song, and Dolly was willing to allow him to record it, but Colonel Tom Parker told her for Elvis to record the song, she has to relinquish the song's rights, and she refused. So interesting little game of connections there. And then there's one last fun fact. I know I've said that about the past 3 fun facts, but you gots to believe me about this one. So after a show, I don't know where, he's traveling from Madison, Wisconsin, or he had a show in Des Moines. He's traveling through Wisconsin or something like that. His limo stops at a red light. He notices 2 teens holding down a third teen, threatening them at a gas station. And so Elvis was like, yo, look at those 2 punks. I don't go for this 2-on-1 deal, which is such an interesting way to put it. And his bodyguards are like, no, dude, you're not getting involved. It's too dangerous. And then when the light turns green, he like tucks and rolls or hops out, approaches the teens and strikes a karate pose in like probably full freaking Elvis garb, like jumpsuit and all. And he yells, "I'll take you two on." And the boys looked up and were stunned. And he eventually calmed them down and shook their hands and asked if everything's settled now. And the boys vowed to never fight again. Shook hands, signed autographs. And a roadside monument was created to commemorate the event, which is just bananas. Speaking of bananas, they didn't even go into this whole fried banana and peanut butter phase. Like, I would like to know the origins of that. Like, what, like that, it's such a, I don't think anyone has ever actually made it and ate it since he passed. It's like, it's cursed now. But it would be nice to see like the origins of like who served him that first fried peanut butter and banana sandwich. Because that's what did him in, right? Critical reception, the critics' consensus. The standard rock biopic formula gets all shook up in Elvis, with Baz Luhrmann's dazzling energy and style perfectly complemented by Austin Butler's outstanding lead performance. Agreed. The audience says, like the man himself, Elvis delivers dazzling, crowd-pleasing entertainment that provokes a wide range of emotion. Agreed. 67% of all critics gave it a favorable review with an average rating of 6.6 out of 10. All critics, that was top critics. Yeah, they usually give it a lower rating. And then all critics, 77% of all critics gave it a favorable review with an average rating of 6.8 out of 10. Verified, 94% of the verified audience members gave it a favorable review with an average rating of 4.6 out of 5. And 90% of all audience reviewers gave it a favorable review with an average rating of 4.5 out of 5. And I'm going to side with the audience on this one. I would go 7 points. It's in the sevens, low sevens, I would say, out of 10. And then, I would probably do, that's pretty high, 4.4 out of 5. I'd say it's higher than, am I going to do higher than Black Panther Wakanda Forever, dude? I think I might go like a 4.3, 4.2 out of 5. I was thoroughly entertained. It's Elvis, dude. And it wasn't corny or anything like that. I mean, there was some, I mean, it's a long movie. It's another long one. It's like 2 hours and 40 minutes, probably just as long as Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But it's higher than Black Panther. I mean, both of them were so emotional, but Black Panther Wakanda Forever was more emotional. Was it as dazzling? Yeah, I think I'm going to go Elvis with a higher rating. Shoot. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is like a 4.1, 3.9. And this is probably like a 4.2, 4.3 out of 5. Okay, I guess we're going with that. All right. So, 2.5 hour podcast. No big deal. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And we'll check in with you next week. Adios, muchachos.